couple of worrying developments this week with regard to the Ukraine conflict. I don't know whether you have been following that.
Well, I follow it, and there's always worrying updates. Which one are you referencing?
Well, I'm thinking particularly about the surprise visit of the CIA director, John Ratcliffe.
Yes.
To Moscow, which he went in this huge, I always want to call it a ghetto blaster, but it's not a ghetto, but this sort of troop carrying aircraft, and tried to avoid being seen, went up via Latvia and Lithuania and flew in, and it was all done very hush-hush, supposedly very hush-hush. But then you've got these guys who follow planes flying around the world, these plane spotters who sit at home with
plane spotters,
watching. Yeah, they have like air traffic control on their home computers, and they watch the flight, the number of the flight flying around the world, and they all deduce that the Ratcliffe was flying. And then, of course, giveaway to a certain extent, there was a huge number of American cars driving through Moscow streets with the.
Oh well, that was good.
Things.
That was a good covert operation then.
Yeah, it was. It's quite. Yeah, well, it was a Globe Master 3 is the name of the plane. There we are. So,
right.
Yeah, and this motorcade that went through Moscow obviously gave it away. Now, there's been some speculation as to what he was there for. Have you read any of that or seen any of that?
Yeah. Well, I have. But the bit I've picked up is that he was there to try and dissuade Russia from prodding NATO to see if NATO would react.
Yeah, deterring a NATO confrontation, according to the Wall Street Journal, who have had leaks from behind the scenes. They have these. I mean, Wall Street Journal is quite a respectable, reliable paper in terms of their links. Yeah. Well, he's said it's a nothing out of the ordinary, hasn't he, Trump? I've got his exact quote here, which I'll give you in a minute. But the actual premise of it, according to the Wall Street Journal, is, as you say, to deter the Russians from prodding NATO and carrying out incursions, is the exact word. And they talk about the Baltic states, which would be quite worrying because, of course, we've got this Article 5, haven't we, that the moment they step in across the border, then it's all for one and one for all. But
That's
clearly, because of Trump's behaviour over the last few years and his lukewarm commitment, it would appear, to NATO, the Russians are starting to read things into this. Be interesting. Well, it wouldn't be interesting because I don't really want to go down that road. But I'm sure what they're thinking is, if we start doing this, is he really going to do anything, or is he just going to leave it and see what happens and see how far they go? Now, Britain obviously we've got troops in the Baltic states, in Latvia, as part of our NATO commitment.
NATO, yep.
Which is on the what they call the tripwire, on the front line, effectively. So it trips NATO's response should they start interfering in that matter. So it's a bit worrying. What do you think's going on? Do you think that Putin would really be so stupid as to try something like that?
I don't think he would, but I wouldn't rule it out.
No.
I'm more intrigued by the covert, not covert, leaked visit, which was clearly always intended to hit the media. And was that to spook people or reassure people that America was really interested, but that Trump wasn't going to say it because he wouldn't back down? But maybe he sent his man along to say, look, Mr. Trump might say this, mightn't say that, but believe us, we do believe in NATO.
Well, I wonder whether,
that's hope value more than anything else. But who knows with President Putin, because on the home front, he is under the cosh, isn't he? With things not going brilliantly on the economy, and obviously more and more people losing loved ones or having them return seriously wounded. So all that drips through, and you get the wild berries attacks, or Amazon as they call it over there, or not, but it's the Russian Amazon. So you've got all these things happening. Incidentally, I read a headline, I didn't read the article, that said that President Putin has told Wildberry they need to defend themselves and shoot their own drones down.
Yes, I saw that yesterday.
So you're gonna have to put that in a store, aren't they? Anti-drone missiles, please.
Well, imagine, can you imagine that here? Somebody on the top of IKEA with a Patriot missile system to try and
don't miss it, Bob. Yeah. Don't miss it.
The bit that, you read the same story, I'm sure that I did. The story that I had said that it was a premise to allow them to nationalise these profit-making organisations, effectively, to take them under state ownership. How that protects them anymore, I don't know, because they haven't got. It's quite clear. It's quite interesting, isn't it? So I'm babbling a bit. But it's quite interesting that when you go back to the beginning of this particular conflict, Russia was held up as this impregnable military superpower. And yet it would appear after all this time that you can send what effectively is a drone that you can, knock up in 10 minutes in a back room, and it can beat all of their anti-aircraft equipment.
It appears so.
It's astonishing.
But it would be the same here, wouldn't it? Even if we had a meaningful air defence. If you've got 1,000 of these things coming to you, you can't shoot them all down, can you?
I suppose not. I don't know.
We've seen that in Iran, haven't they? When Iran attacked the Gulf states.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a threat. Well, not so long ago we had old what's-his-face, didn't we? Drive down the equivalent of their M1 and almost reach Moscow.
Well, yeah.
So
yeah, that was quite
with all
funny,
his troops. I wish he'd kept going. What was his name? Because they bumped him off, didn't they?
They did. He had
him and his right-hand man
made crash a month later,
the mistake of flying together.
Yeah,
and it was alleged that he had a grenade that went off.
Oh, I can't remember his name now. But anyway, this guy who went to Moscow, this John Ratcliffe, the CIA director, is known in US circles as a hawk on Russia. Apparently, he's not. He's one of the few that still stands out in the Trump administration who's not lovey-dovey with Russia. So interesting that they sent him as well, isn't it? But whether it's...
Maybe they didn't want him to come back.
Right. Well, maybe it's all for, as you say, maybe it's all for domestic consumption, for American domestic consumption. But I don't know. The Russians are saying it was just a general chit-chat, and Trump has said some sort of semi-routine visit. Apparently, which apparently the CIA director hasn't been... Any CIA director hasn't been to Moscow since they went on the eve of their invasion of Ukraine. You remember there was all that negotiation going on, and Lavrov saying, oh, there's no way that we're going to their fellow Slav nation. We're not going to invade.
We've got 200,000 troops on their eastern border. I just thought we'd put them there.
Yeah.
Is it Prigozhin? Was it Prigozhin?
Prigozhin. You're right. Yeah. Where did that come from? Out the back of your head.
Yeah, I haven't got my phone on me, so I've not been cheating. No hands.
No. And the Russians have said it's contacts between security services, which is quite interesting, isn't it? Okay. They've not even said. But what even worried me about perhaps a bit this morning, have you heard what the Russian Foreign Ministry spokesman, a lady by the name of Maria Zakharova, you must have seen her before. She's a blonde lady.
I thought she won Wimbledon, didn't she?
Well, she's been talking because we had these are movements all the way. We had this visit, didn't we, by Andy Burnham to Kiev on Ukraine's Independence Day, where he was doing the rounds.
We did, yeah.
And that was when he supposedly handed over the plans and the specification with regard to these. I'm a bit confused because they appear to be the same missile from what I can see. The French call it the Scalp missile. And we call it Storm Shadow, but it would appear that it's got the same components inside. And the French have given them to manufacture part of it, but without the know-how from us, apparently they can't take off. He handed over. We didn't have I don't think it was a ceremony, but he handed over so they can produce their own Scalp Storm Shadows when he was over there. And not surprisingly, the Russians have taken umbrage at this. Ms. Zakharova has said this morning that Russia could strike military facilities and weapon production sites in Ukraine and beyond, which is a bit worrying, isn't it?
That's a tactic. I mean, you there's a little bit of, not to be seen to be backing down, but I do wonder about the sense of something that sounds to me to be quite sensitive. You're handing over the blueprints. I wonder what the manufacturers think about that, but that's another story. Perhaps they've been well paid. But why would you make that public? Unless you think it'll be a deterrent. It's not the smartest thing to do, is it?
Well, you wouldn't have thought so, would you?
I'd be saying, well, look, let's just let them have it. And
yeah.
I suppose when they start,
they've got, they've got some of our Storm Shadows and they've got some of the French's Scalps as well. Wouldn't it just be easy to say they've reverse produced them and we had nothing to do with it? They've just got on and done it, but. No, they made a big thing of it. And the other guy who you'll know, Dmitry Peskov, We see him quite a lot. He's sort of gingery with a moustache and looks typically Russian, I think. He stated yesterday that the Russian military is actively gathering data and intelligence to locate missile production sites in order to target and destroy them. Moscow views the technology transfer as direct intervention that methodically and regularly adds fuel to the fire. So it's all a bit of ramping up, isn't it? And I'm just, one, I don't want to link these two stories particularly, but it's all a bit worrying, isn't it? It means that things, I think, are coming to a head. Now, whether that, whether this guy going to Moscow was in some way an offer to Putin to be able to take an off-ramp where there's a win-win situation here. There's also talk that it was about Iran as well. Now, I don't know how the Russians...
Yeah, sanction on Iran.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know what the Americans have got to offer the Russians that would get them to back away from this without anybody losing face. Would be interesting to know, wouldn't it?
This being what? The Ukraine war?
Yeah, the Ukraine war. Well, it's all interlinked, isn't it? I think at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think maybe the Americans, if we're talking about the Iran war, the Americans are concerned, I would think, that the Russians are providing logistics and weaponry for the Iranians to use against the Americans. God forbid that, some weaponry that the Iranians have got from Russia were then to blow up an American aircraft carrier or what have you in the Gulf, or hell would then break loose, wouldn't it? So, it's interesting to speculate, but I don't think we're going to get any more information on what that meeting was about.
I think it's all escalation, and I think you're right. Things at some point things will come to a head. This is now a very long conflict, isn't it? It's now February 22, 4.5 years.
Yeah.
Longer than elements of the Second World War, to put it into perspective.
Yeah.
And so, at some point it will come to a head. So whether this is just more attempts to turn the screw or whether it's desperation on the Russian side, we don't know.
I think as winter rolls on, we'll see what's going to happen, because the Ukrainians are under pressure, aren't they, from ballistic missiles from the Russians in terms of hitting their utilities and what have you. And similarly, I think the West is now under pressure if it continues to provide the Ukrainians with the necessary kit to be able to avoid ballistic missiles hitting their cities. So we're moving into that end game period, aren't we? And hopefully pragmatism will prevail, but who knows?